border. He's just come out of Aleppo. We are, though, speaking also with Patrick Cockburn, who's in London right now, Middle East correspondent for The Independent. If you could take it from there, Patrick, and describe, I mean, you're talking about the biggest emergency in the UN's history, this crisis, the worst since World War II, as the UN is describing it right now. Do you see this as a proxy war, and between what countries, and for what, Patrick?
Oh, it is clearly a proxy war. I mean, this may have started off as a popular uprising in Syria, but by now it has 4 or 5 different conflicts wrapped into one. And you have an opposition, but an opposition which is fragmented and really proxies for foreign powers. Notably, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey plays a role. What has changed recently, since midsummer, is that Saudi Arabia is becoming the main financier for the rebel military groups inside Syria. Qatar is playing a lesser role. So the Saudis are trying to develop a Sunni Islamic force that is against the Assad government in Damascus, but is also against al-Qaeda. But this is, even so, very much a sectarian force, which is already being blamed for sectarian attacks on Christians and Druze and Alawites. Then, of course, you also have the United States, Britain and France. A recent defector from the Free Syrian Army who joined the al-Qaeda-affiliated Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, said he was continually attending meetings, I don't know, he didn't say where, but probably in Turkey, in which always representatives of foreign intelligence services turned up, and at one moment were being presided over by the Saudi Deputy Defense Minister.
Well, Patrick Cockburn, could you explain what exactly happened to the Syrian National Coalition and the Free Syrian Army, the main opposition group that the U.S. and Britain and other countries in the West were backing and hoping would be a legitimate replacement, possibly in the future, to the Assad regime?
Yeah, there was always an element of pretense in this, pretending that the Free Syrian Army and the Syrian National Coalition represented Syrians inside the country. It was always very much an outside, exiled development. You know, they never really controlled much on the ground, and what they did control is now very little. That's, you know, their headquarters was overrun by the Islamic Front, which is a sort of combination of Sunni groups, appears to be backed by Saudi Arabia. Basically it's been a disaster. So these so-called sort of moderate elements have never had much influence inside Syria, and now seem to be sort of almost completely marginalized.
And the significance of Idris leaving, going over the border into Turkey, talk about who he is and his role.
Well, he's the former general, who was, you know, I used to watch him and wonder how did he have so much time to appear on CNN and so many other programs abroad. It didn't leave him much time to direct military action. But I think it did reflect the fact that he was very much a figure who it was useful for Western governments and Western media to promote as the leader of the revolt in Syria. But he was always pretty isolated, though he got a lot of believers outside the country. Now he seems to be on the run, really, between Turkey and Qatar. But there was always, I mean, it's really pretenses being exposed about these movements and individuals not being representative of the opposition within Syria, and that opposition being far more sectarian, close to al-Qaeda, than foreign governments were prepared to admit, or foreign media was prepared to admit, even a year ago.
We're talking to Patrick Cockburn, Middle East correspondent for The Independent. His latest piece is called Starving in Syria, the biggest emergency in the UN's history. He's also just out of Iraq. We want to find out about the terrible violence there as well, and talk more about Saudi Arabia's role. Not much discussion of that, at least in the United States, in what's going on in Syria. We'll be back with Patrick Cockburn. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily independent global grassroots news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org today. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.